It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the Peace University head's men's lacrosse coach, Coach Tom Mariano. How are you doing today?
I'm good, Brandon. Thank you for having me on.
Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get involved in college lacrosse coaching?
Well, I think, you spend, as an athlete, you spend your whole life playing sports. I think I started playing contact football at 5 years old, and you go through college playing, and, I think you just fall in love with sports and you want to continue in that role. So I think when I first started in coaching, it was because, I love sports and wanted to stay involved in sports in any way I could.
What was it like going to college and playing college lacrosse?
I mean, it's great. You have a built-in family. I went in college in the era when we didn't have social media, and to be honest, most of us ended up at college and you only knew the teammates that lived near you. Where now, at least with social media, a lot of these incoming athletes have all been in contact. They all know each other, the club circuit in different sports. It's different. A lot of us went into college back then, we were blind, we didn't know anybody. But, it's a great experience. You have a built-in family in a network and time management, organization. There's just some self-discipline, self-control. There's so many positives to playing, a sport in college.
What were some of your college accomplishments playing college lacrosse for NASA?
We're playing in Nazareth. I mean, it was, Nazareth was consistently, one of the top teams in the country. So I think our goal was to always win a national championship. And we did that my sophomore year. And, we beat Hobart, who actually won 13 national championships in a row at Division III. So that was a pretty huge accomplishment. And then my junior and senior year, unfortunately, we lost in the semifinals to Hobart. But I think, that stuff is great. I think for me, it's, playing with your teammates, the bonds you had with your teammates during those kind of trials and tribulations over the years and all the games and workouts and locker room and bus trips. I mean, that's the stuff that stands out to me.
What was that feeling like? As you said, you won it your sophomore year, the national championship. What was that feeling like?
I mean, it's an amazing feeling. I think as an athlete, you set out and you want to be, the best team in the country. You want to be the last team standing. And, the fact that we beat Hobart, who won 13 national championships in a row, I mean, it was a huge crowd. It was a crazy crowd. It was just an unbelievable feeling, to work so hard and to accomplish your goals. Because unfortunately in sports, there's a lot of people who work really hard that don't get to reach their goals. And the fact that we did as a team with just an amazing group of men and coaches and players, is, one of the best feelings you can ever experience as a student athlete.
Of course, coming out of college, what was it like getting your first start at Sacred Heart University as a coach?
Well, I graduated from Nazareth, that May. I had a summer class or two, so I was technically done the end of the summer. And in September, I was a Division I head coach at Marist College, at 23 years old, which is by far the youngest head coach in Division I ever. And I don't think that record will ever be broken. And honestly, that was, it was crazy. In May, I was playing in college lacrosse, and, this semifinals, lose a game against Hobart. And 3 months later, you're, coaching Division I lacrosse for $4,000 part-time. It was learning a lot on the fly.
What was that feeling like of starting so young, getting into become a head coach at such a young age?
I think, in the beginning, it's overwhelming. You're like, what do I do? How do I do this? But I think I was fortunate to have played for great coaches in high school and, not just lacrosse, but football, basketball, coaches who really showed me how to run a program, how to run a practice, how to be organized, how to have a game plan. And then I played as a freshman for Tom Postel at CW Post, and then transferred to Nazareth College and played under Scott Nelson. Two great coaches who really showed you how to run a lacrosse program. So, you want to take all those experiences into what you do, but at the same time, you've got to kind of build your own foundation.
What was it like going to Sacred Heart to become a head coach there?
Well, that was kind of the same thing. I did 2 years at Marist. Unfortunately, at that point, I was only making $4,000 part-time as Division I head coach, and Sacred Heart was full-time, and it was, Division II at the time, but there was talks about transition in Division I. So I looked at it as an opportunity and a challenge. The former head coach was a NAS grad, coached me in college, and he kind of helped create the opportunity for me. It was a great experience, getting a chance to go from Division II program and help them transition to the Division I. And, we learned a lot of things on the fly at that point. I think myself as a coach and even the school as we went into Division I.
How is that like? Obviously, as you said, that the former coach at Sacred Heart was an alum of obviously your alma mater and taking over that program. What was that feeling like?
Well, I think, that's one of I think all sports are like this. It's a close-knit fraternity and you're close, but lacrosse, especially at that time, it was much smaller than it is now. Everybody was close-knit and you want to take care of each other, and you want to build similar traditions. And I think, we both played in a program at Nazareth that was extremely successful, and we wanted to emulate that. And, you look at Coach Randall, he's still continuing to do that. And he's actually the head coach of Nazareth now, doing a really good job there. So I think it's something that's important. We're all trying to build, these winning cultures, but at the same time, you want it to kind of have your own stamp. And I think that as a program, you want your players to have a stamp on it as well.
What was the transition like from you from going from college coaching to going to coach in the major lacrosse league?
Well, you go from coaching college lacrosse to coaching the best players in the world, at that time, and, tremendous players. And, I think you just go in, and I think I've always told, I've told every locker room I've walked into, it's, I'm not trying to be the best coach you ever had. I want to be the best coach you have today. And I want to help you get better and help you be successful. And I think a lot of pros gravitate to that. A lot of pros see right away that you're willing to put the time and effort in to help them and their teammates get better. It was just an awesome experience. Literally your first practice, your first game, you're like, wow, these guys are. And, Coach Davis and myself, Coach Davis was named the head coach of the Howard Machine, and I jumped in as an assistant, mid-season. So we kind of jumped in right away. But, it was awesome. You're coaching literally the best players in the world. You couldn't ask for a better experience.
What's it like, obviously, coaching the Florida launch?
Oh, it's all, it's a really cool experience. They had, struggled a little bit, and there was different reasons behind that. They had a great coaching staff before them who I knew well. Just things didn't fall in place for them. And, we went from, kind of last place to one of the best teams in MLL and made the playoffs for the first time in franchise history. And that honestly was built with a great coaching staff, great leadership, and great players. And, I think everyone bought into what we were trying to do. So I think anytime as a coach, you have a team that buys into your vision, and the reality is buys into our vision, there's no better, experience as a coach to have a bunch of men, who are buying in and believing in and committed to the same vision and goal. And I think that's why we had success.
What was it like going to Bayhawks and then obviously going to the Ohio Machines to become the assistant coach and defensive coordinator?
Well, I started in Ohio, and then I went to the Bayhawks for 1 year as an assistant coach. And then I went to the Florida launch, and then they ceased operations. And I went back to the Bayhawks as an assistant coach, and then finished my last year as the head coach of the Bayhawks before the MLL was merged with the PLL. So for me, I was fortunate to, in all those stops, work with great coaches. Bear Davis in Ohio is a good friend, really good coach. We really felt special about building something great at Ohio. And of course, after I left, he won a championship. So, I was happy for everybody that was involved in that to have a little part in that. And then went to the Bayhawks with Brian Reese, who's another good friend, tremendous coach. We finished tied for first place that year in the MLL, but didn't make the playoffs on a tiebreaker. So that was disappointing. Then the opportunity to go to the Florida launch and just kind of run my own ship and do things from the experiences that I'd accumulated over the years. And then the fact that, the chance to go back and work with Dave Cottle and Brendan Kelly, the owner of the Bayhawks, they didn't have to do that. They really helped me out, and because my team was folded. So to go back with them and help them and just learn from a tremendous coach in Dave Cottle and a great owner in Brendan Kelly. Love that experience. And then, the opportunity to become the head coach of the Chesapeake Bayhawks, in the last year of the MLL is something I'll always remember. And, I'm going to stick to it. If we hadn't had some COVID issues, I truly believe we would have won the MLL championship that year. So I look at it, I was fortunate to be around great coaches, great staffs. I had great assistant coaches, Brian Duncan, Daryl Delia, Mark Goers, Chris Burdick, all great coaches, all bought into the vision, really helping us move forward. And, at the end goal is we all want to be the last team standing. And I think we always were fighting for that.
How did obviously your time in the professionals coaching, obviously as a head coach there, helped you to where you are now with Pace University?
Well, I think, it's all about accumulating your experiences and learning from your experiences. So the fact that, you get a chance to coach some of the best players in the world. And to be honest, I spent a lot of time talking to them and digesting. And for me, I'm processing how the best players in the world become so good at what they do. And they all have common traits. They're passionate, they're committed, they're driven. They're exceptional, high level work ethic, IQ, but they just have a belief in themselves and their teammates. So, and my attitude is, well, if the best players in the world are doing that, let's, get our college athletes to do the same thing. And we've had a lot of success at Pace with, athletes who are very similar, committed, driven, teammate driven belief, and I think it's just, for me, it's big, taking all your experiences and molding into one so that each day you're getting a little bit better.
How was obviously the 2017 season like going to the NCAA tournament for the first time in program history?
It was just, it's such a happy, ecstatic feeling for everyone who's ever played in Pace, for that 2017 team that was, extremely committed, driven, to get to the NCAA tournament, and become one of the best teams in the country. There's no better feeling. I mean, that's what we're all striving for. I think that's a big kind of core philosophy in our program at Pace is each day we want to become a little bit better. We want, from the first day you get here to the last day, you want to leave a better version of yourself on and off the field, and everything you do, how you act, how you carry yourself. So sometimes, it's nice to have some data to back that up. So making the NCAA tournament in 2017, I think backed up the commitment of all these young men in the recruiting process who became men while they played for us. It just served as an example of what we were doing and how we were going to do it.
What are some of your accomplishments so far as the head coach?
For me, honestly, I don't really buy much into that. I don't, like if a recruit asks me something, I'll say, you just go on Google and Google my name, and I've done different things. I've won games, I've lost games. I'm more proud of the fathers that I've coached. These people are now fathers, they're husbands, they're, contributing as positive members of society, just dedicated, engaged in their programs as alums. I'm more proud of the men that I've coached than anything that I've done, because for me, I don't do any of this without great coaches on my staff, without great players buying into. So honestly, Brandon, I don't put much time or thought into that stuff.
Who are some of the teams that you face each week in your conference?
Well, I think, The NE10 is considered one of the better conferences in the country, and it's not up for me to debate. I think you just look at who's been winning the Division II national championships, and lately it's Merrimack, it's Lemoyne, and obviously Merrimack in Division I. Lemoyne is excellent. Adelphi is very good. St. Anselm, Coach Shaman has done a great job there. They're as good as anybody. Bentley's very good. Southern New Hampshire's, a good team. St. Michael's is on the uprise. I mean, it's just the biggest thing with the NE10 is the way we play. You're playing on Saturday and you could have a huge win, you could have a tough loss, and then you turn around and play Tuesday. And you might be on the road to New Hampshire, and then you got to come back home on Saturday. And then the following Wednesday, you're going back to New Hampshire. And then you're on the road. It's just, it's really good lacrosse, but I think it's also navigating our schedule in the way it's done because we have so many teams in the conference. That's what makes it tough. So if you can stand and be successful in the NE10, you're accomplishing a lot because you're handling kind of the ebb and flow of the season.
What is that like? Obviously, as you said, that a lot of your games are like back to back. What is that like having the games back to back versus having time to space out and plan for the game?
You're cramming a lot in a short period of time. You're constantly on the go. It's kind of Groundhog Day. You get up, you watch film, you practice. You get up, you watch film, you practice, you play a game. You do the same thing over and over. So I think as a coach, you need to keep your players engaged. You need to keep your staff engaged. You need to keep yourself engaged. You don't want anybody to get worn out or burn out. And, I think that's a battle we all struggle with in the NE10 of finding that level of success. And at the end of the day, the players got to go out and make plays. It's our job as a coach to provide them a game plan and hopefully put them in the right roles, but they need to go out and make plays. They're the ones who've got to get them down the field for 60 minutes. So it's our job as a coach to put them in the best position possible to be successful.
What are some of the game day traditions that you've helped implement for obviously paced lacrosse?
I think that each team's a little different. Each team's a little unique. Each team kind of has their own spin. I think a lot of this, I'll talk about it a few times, but, it's kind of coach fed, but player led, and that's something that Dave Cottle, I really learned from him. The coaches are there to feed the players are there to lead. So each team, they might have a different song they play before they go on the field. I mean, every pregame is pretty similar in the country in lacrosse. You're going to go out, you're going to do some stick work, you can do some shooting, you're going to do some type of transition, maybe do a little 6-on-6, a little man up, man down before the game. That stuff's great, but I think each team is going to have its own spin. So we give the players some flexibility to kind of make those choices.
What does the recruitment process look like for those prospective student athletes looking to play college lacrosse?
Well, I think, right now, in this kind of, COVID environment, it's been very interesting, the recruiting process. There was many of us who recruited recruiting classes without ever having players step on campus, without having met them, without having seen them play live. Now we're hopefully kind of, knock on wood, moving past that. I think it's all about finding the right fit. We're looking for young men who are going to grow up into successful men on and off the field, who are going to be committed, who are going to be driven to be, to be great in everything they do, chasing excellence on and off the field. And I think for the recruits, they need to find a place where they can be successful, academically, athletically, socially, it fits location, they can afford it, that, because at the end of the day, this is all about finding the right fit. We're looking for the right fit, and I think recruits need to look for the right fit. And there's times in lacrosse, I don't know if recruits do a great job of finding the right fit.
Of course, when on the road, what are some of the things that you look at in these prospective student athletes on the lacrosse side?
Well, I think obviously, what's their athleticism like? What's their speed? What's their quickness? What's their agility? What's their lacrosse skill? What's that consist of? Are they a lefty? Are they a righty? Can they go both ways? Then there's the intangibles. How do they ground ball? What type of leader are they? What type of teammate are they? Are they coachable? Are they good people? I think that, in today's society with social media and everything, we're all looking for really good men, who are going to represent your program in a first-class manner in everything they do. So, we're all kind of looking for the same type players, good players, good students, good people who hopefully can come to your program and become an All-American and help you win a national championship.
Of course, when these prospective student athletes are on the official visit at Pace, what does the official visit look like for them?
Well, like I said, it's been interesting. With COVID, we've kind of stopped doing official visits because for a while we weren't even allowed to have guests on campus. And now we've kind of eased back in. So we haven't done them in a couple of years, to be honest. We're hoping it gets back to that. But I think it's like anything else. They want to have interactions with the campus, with the students, with the players that they're going to play with in the future. So I think it's all about engagement and relationships. They're trying to build relationships and we're trying to build relationships with them. And hopefully both of us see that it's the right fit.
Of course, looking at obviously these future Pace players that are lacrosse players, what is that like, obviously seeing them in the jersey representing Pace?
Oh, I think, when I said it earlier, I think I got into this, I've been a head coach for 29 years. And I think when I got into coaching, I got into this to coach lacrosse. And at some point, and it probably took me a lot longer than it should have, it became less about coaching lacrosse and more about developing, young men into men. And I think for me, the enjoyment is of watching a recruit, as a young man go through the recruiting process, watching them come in here as a freshman, and then watching them leave as a senior completely, I don't want to say completely different, but just they're prepared, they're successful, they're driven, they're committed. You're excited to see the accomplishments. And then obviously as they get older, you start to see them become great fathers, great husbands, great, contributing members of the workforce. To me, that's what this is all about. It's, you're not always going to remember every game they played in, but you're going to remember the kind of the legacy they left behind and what they stood for. And then you're obviously going to see that the men they become.
What advice would you give those high school athletes looking to become college lacrosse players?
Well, I think it's kind of what I said before. I think it's important that a lot of these recruits learn to chase excellence, on the field, off the field. Be a really good person. Be a great teammate. Be a great teammate. I think that's so important. There's a lot of really good players who maybe aren't the best teammates, and players don't want to play with them. You want to play with someone who's got your back. You want to, you want these guys to grow where they're at a point where they love each other and, they have each other's back. And that's so important. But I think that's my advice to recruits, work hard at your craft, work hard in school, and really work hard at being a great teammate.
What advice would you give those college lacrosse players looking to go from playing college lacrosse to going professionally, whether it's the major lacrosse, premier, or obviously the national?
Well, right now, you got the PLO and the NLO, with the field lacrosse with no more, MLL. There's a lot less teams playing, so there's a lot less opportunities. So you need to be very good at your craft. You need to be a very good lacrosse player. But it's the same thing. It doesn't change at the pro level. You need to be a great teammate. I think that's, in those pro locker rooms, that's sometimes the first question that coaches ask me, or they're asking other people, what type of teammate is he? How's he going to fit into our locker room? So it never ends being a great teammate, being a great person. People want to surround themselves with teammates who are driven and just like them, who are chasing excellence. So obviously you've got to be great at your craft, but more importantly, be a great teammate, be a guy who's going to make the locker room better.
What advice would you give future college lacrosse coaches, whether they want to be assistant coaches or head coaches just like you?
Well, I think it's, it's pretty similar message. I think sometimes it's luck and opportunity. I was fortunate. That I was, like I said, playing in May, and in September was a Division I head coach. And part of that happened because of a college teammate. A college teammate, he had his high school teammates who were playing at Marist College, and they were looking for a coach. They got me involved in the process. But I think it's, if you want to coach, it's the same thing. Work hard at your craft, work hard at relationships with the players, work hard in recruiting relationships, but be a great teammate as well as a coach. You know, if you're not going to support the head coach, the other assistants, you're not going to last long in this profession.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media along with Pace Lacrosse program at?
I mean, I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and as well as Pace. You know, I think at Pace, we try to be pretty active on social media. I'm off and on, obviously, especially in season, because we're kind of always doing game film and practice, but it's pretty easy to find us on social media.
Thank you again, Coach Tom Mariano, for your interview, and best of luck in your future with the Pace Lacrosse program.
All right, Brandon, thank you. I appreciate what you do.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Coach Tom, for your interview, and best of luck in your future.
Thank you, Brandon.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free